Hi, so my name is Celeste. I am here with the band Nægling. Now to get started with the first question, your band draws heavily on the ideas of like nature and heritage. Now, what does your band name symbolize for you, and how does it reflect on the band's core philosophy?
Well, it's a phrase taken from Beowulf. Well, phrase, a name. It's the name of one of the swords in the story, which is obviously a you know big part or a large part of the Anglo-Saxon sort of what we know about the Anglo-Saxons and the culture of here, this England, which is a large part of our culture is formed by Anglo-Saxon heritage, amongst other things. And it's just I always like poetry and literature and stuff like this, so I think it's quite like a nice reference and it looks good as a name. So it's like it sort of, and as a name, it sort of already has a connotations with the heritage sort of history and folklore of the country. So yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now with some of the songs on there, it definitely has like the feeling of like more like deeply rooted English landscape. Now, how important is the land itself as far as like ancient sites or like hills or like in the atmosphere in shaping your music?
Well, I'm from the Peak District, which is like national park in the basically the middle of the country, and these sort of landscapes are what I have grown up in. Been around every day. Have to cycle over the hills and the valleys or whatever to get to my friend's house to work or any of these sort of things. So the images and the sort of feeling is very burned into sort of who I am and the way that I see things. So when I'm writing the music, it's like there was a point when I sort of decided to sort of form Nægling into this sort of thing where I was like, I wanted to write music that I'm writing about things that are close to me. So these sort of vistas of nature and the hills and the mist and all this sort of thing is very like close to what I know. So I think it's quite a appropriate sort of imagery, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's definitely nice and it's interesting when songs or even some albums like kind of go based off of like the more nature aspect, especially with someone's own surroundings. I kind of like those.
Yeah, and I mean, there's on the EP. There's a few different songs that are referencing to specific like local things, like the well dressing, which is a custom, not unique but very localized to this sort of area. I was like, that's a good subject for a song. I'll write a black metal song about making flower garlands. I'll do that
Yeah.
because I think it's more true. It's more real and like has more of a sort of authenticity because it's something that I know about and like it's for me it was something when I was growing up it was just there and I was always acknowledged it and then you go somewhere else and people don't have never heard of it
Yeah.
and then there is that real local culture that still exists in this country and I just wanted to like highlight that a little bit and sort of celebrate it in
Yeah. And that's definitely a good format to do it is with the sharing of cultures is using an aspect of more of like the global part of different cultures, which is like music. So I think that's really nice.
and I think that's always what the essence of black metal was kind of about is like there were these kids in Scandinavia are writing about their own legends and their own sort of history and culture and heritage. And I think like I'm not going to call anyone out or like start talking shit about other bands or anything, but
Hmm.
nowadays there's like a lot of this kind of it's like everyone's trying to be. Well, not everyone, but like acting like frozen forests and all this sort of shit, and it's like, but not that's not where everyone is. And it's like if that's your thing, that's fine. I don't whatever. But like my thing is like living in the hills in the countryside, watching lambs and stuff like that. So for me,
Yeah.
that's like what it's about.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. Now this release has a compilation of demos that are spanning several years, even some back as far as like 2016. Now, how has
Yeah.
your songwriting evolved over that time? About a decade
Uh,
now. And what unifies these tracks into like a cohesive whole?
well, this is what was difficult, and this is kind of what made Nægling a thing. Is I've always been like kind of writing songs. I used to be in a band, so I'd sort of write songs for there, and then I'd write songs for myself, just kind of. So I've got like hard drives full of half finished projects and ideas and all this sort of stuff. But I never really got around to releasing stuff because I'd have one idea like, oh, I want to do this atmospheric black metal thing or some folk thing or somewhere else, or it's like constantly firing like these ideas. So I and always the idea like, oh, you can't put them together because they need to have this sort of unifying thing because that is something that I kind of like. It doesn't necessarily have to be so rigid, but I like things to be cohesive. So I don't know if it actually managed to come across in the album, but I always like it where everything flows, the audio flows into the next one, and there's like an audio journey, and like there's not, or the gaps between songs are purposeful.
Mhm.
What was I talking about? Right, I'll do off on tangents a little bit. Um, what was the question? Sorry.
No, you're okay.
No,
Um,
I've generally just I've confused myself a little bit.
uh, the question was, how has your songwriting evolved over
Oh no,
time?
true. Yeah. Okay. So the compilation thing was kind of just like I was writing like so it's kind of it's meant to be an EP but I was not super happy with it. I've not quite finished it, so that's why it's like a demo.
Mhm.
But this is where all the songs are cohesive together. So it's kind of like I picked some of the ones from that I'd already written that I thought sounded up kind of close and or had like a thing in them that was there. Some of them I like completely changed lyrics that I had before that I hadn't recorded because it was just like I wasn't happy with them anyway. But I just sort of switched the theme around to make it fit into more of it is more of with it, everything else. And then because I had that sort of like, all right, yeah, let's just actually just write about this, have this sort of mindset. Right, it became easier to write new songs that sort of fit into that. Musically, if they fit together, I don't really know. Maybe because I do like work in a quite sporadic manner. So like some of the songs in there were like probably almost finished within like a day, and the other ones are like literally 10 years and that I've been editing, tweaking things. But like trying to have a release goal is like a way of just kind of just saying, hey, I've got to throw them out now, and then that's it. That's what they are, and then I can work
Yeah,
on something else.
yeah, I think that's really interesting. Now there's obviously, like as we've mentioned, there are folk elements that do play like a subtle but essential role in your sound. Now, how do you balance like these folkloric influences with the harshness of black metal?
I mean, for me, I think it's like fits just well together really well. The key. It's the key is like the feeling more than like the harshness of black metal is like a rawness, right? But everything is it's like everything's minor, right? Well, not completely, but everything's like dark. So it's the darkness of folk that just flows really really well into sort of black metal. I find like if it's some sort of like jig or dance, it's like a bit more of a thing, a bit more difficult to get it to flow into. But also, like one of my top bands of all time is Primordial. Like I've absolutely rinsed their discography so many times, and so there's a lot of that influence that's gone in over the years. And I mean, some of the songs are kind of slightly ripped off. Some riffs are maybe a little bit stolen, but not quite. But like the idea of them,
Yeah,
dressing the Wells in particular, just kind of a rip off of the Soul Must Sleep at the beginning. But yeah,
I,
there's
I,
a
I
yeah.
think getting the inspiration from it's fine. It is funny though, because believe, if I'm wrong, you are like the second very like folky, um, like more extreme metal band I've spoke with, and they also liked Primordial. Like I feel like that's just like a general thing. Like it's such a good band too. I love them.
Yeah.
So I
I just
definitely
think
see why.
what they do, and I'm not going to turn this is just glazing them completely, but
Yeah.
that is also kind of who I am as a person is just constantly glazing them. So, like I just think the way that they put things together is very unique, very like authentic. It's like you can just listen to like 30 seconds of a Primordial song, you can tell they're Irish, just the feel of it, and then all the sort of way that they get traditional influences in, and then have this epic like dark sound is just amazing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of like what I'm trying to emulate, is that sort of feeling, but like with the English character. But I think my influence is a bit more like melodic death metal, kind of faster, like, you know, power metal kind of creeping in
Yeah.
to it to make it a bit more like, you know, it's basically just melodic death metal, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. Now many of your song titles in your album, they have more of like a suggestion of like ritual or even cycles in nature. Now, are these rooted in like specific like practices or personal interpretations?
No, most of the song titles are references to things kind of pretty specific that I've
Hmm.
not explained anywhere. Some of them are like the first song is a lyric that basically that I wanted to make, that it came to me at a moment, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to make that like the big one, the winds that cut the dale. And then the other songs ones. Some of them are references to specific, like I said, specific things. Well, most of them really, or it's either lyrics or like a specific kind of little thing, like a piece of literature or a poem or something like that. So it's less about like any sort of like ritual or like pseudo like religious kind of thing. It's more. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it's wide ranging, but but it's more like towards a literary kind of sense, like poetry, or like within the songs. There's lots of samples of various poems and stuff that I found over the years, or like readings from writers who've visited this area and written about it in like, you know, times gone by and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
it's kind of a lot of the way I think it's like history. It's like the history stretching back. It's like the ghosts of the past is kind of like the vibe that I'm going to go for. Right, you listen, you're up on the moors listening to the wind, and you can hear you know, 100 years ago the old miner in his minecart. As like an example, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting that you're pulling samples in that kind of sense. Um,
Just to give
now,
it more flavor, and you know, where my inspiration comes from. Sometimes you read some like a poem or something, and it really evokes like a feeling. So that sort of fits with the idea of, you know, these songs that are supposed to be kind of quite engaging, I guess.
yeah. Now, you handle, I guess, most like a good bit of like the roles you do in this project. Now, how does the creative process work between you and like your other members within the band? Is it more structured or is it more organic?
It's kind of like I tell them. It's mainly at the moment. It's mainly like a recording role. It's like I've written and like produced like all of the songs, and they're all compositions of mine and stuff. So, but I'm like trying to turn it into a live band, which is why I'm trying to recruit members and get the
Hmm.
songs written down and sort of, you know, formalized, so then we can start learning them properly. So that's the process: of record the songs, the demo, like complete the song, and then get them to come, teach them the part, re-record their part, and then release that. That's sort of how it's been. It's like, you know, it's not, you know, people have got it's quite difficult in this sort of time. You know, everyone's busy doing their own things, and I'm quite isolated as well. So, but that's basically how it works. I'm definitely not opposed to like extra contribution from people. I mean, there's a few bits sort of on the guitars on the that will be coming the remix of the album. with more recordings of the other two. There's some little bits and pieces here and there, like solos and stuff, which are a bit more of his playing and stuff. But yeah, in the future, I definitely want to like get a lot more input and more. I really like jamming in like a band context, but it's not really something feasible at the moment for just that's just how things happen sometimes.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Now the raw yet reflective production gives these demos more of like a intimate and like almost like ceremonial feel. Now was that more of like an intentional aesthetic choice or more of like a result of like practical limitations?
I mean, that's just what it sounds like. For me, it's like I try and make them sound good. It's like I'm not. I don't never really say that I'm going for any like raw sort of sound or anything because I'm
Yeah.
not really. I'm using like computers and it's all polished and it's like if you're using a computer to try and just make everything sound shit on purpose, it's like well, unless it's for a reason, I guess. But so I mean, I do kind of get lazy with the production. I've got like a preset project that I try to write stuff in, but then as projects grow and it usually takes a few years, things get added. I change my certain things and stuff, so they're a bit of a mishmash. Probably sound a bit different across them, but yeah, I like. I'm not put like because they're projects that are kind of like I write in the project and then change things a lot. They're a bit sort of cobbled together, so it's not like super ideal for like a sound. Like I
Mhm.
would like to do a proper album where it's like you record everything properly and then it has a sound and everything's like that. But that's obviously something further down the road.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. I think it as how it is, especially even with that, it sounds good. Um, now, I am curious just because of your locality, um, being a part of like the more current UK black metal underground, how do you view the scene today and where do you think your band may lie within it?
There's a lot of things that people could say about this. I tend to not really consider myself a part of the scene really because it's like I've not really done very much at the moment. I've done stuff in the
Mhm.
past, but at the moment I'm just sort of not really doing very much. I
Mhm.
don't go to many shows. I don't play shows. I do. I'm releasing music, so I'm sort of part of that, but like way down, somewhere down at the bottom. I don't expect people to know who I am. I don't expect people to listen to my music. I don't. I don't. I'm not. I don't have a super huge network of all these people, so I'm like pretty off grid in that sense. So, but some of that's by choice because I find some of some of like the whole scene thing just doesn't really appeal to me.
Hmm.
Being like too involved and too socialized and all this. It's like for me, the way that I like to think about it is to be part of the scene. You need to be contributing to it, right? So
Mhm.
playing shows, making music, or like being a reviewer or a media or some sort of like a thing that's actually making the scene move. As a fan, you going to shows, you're putting money in or buying merch and stuff. That is kind of a part, but it's like anyone can be a fan, right? Which is fine. Which is fine. I'm not like trying to say, oh, people think some fans are like it's like because they're so much of a fan, they've got like encyclopedic knowledge of all this underground bands and stuff that are happening, which
Mhm.
is like useful in other ways. But it's like what I'm trying to say, I guess, is where I want my part to be in the scene is to just be like an artist who's just
Mhm.
I'm going to make music, put it out there, and then just see what happens. And I'll I'll collaborate with people that I like if they want to. I'll fucking try and merchandise or whatever, and find my own place. I want to play shows. I want to do tours and support tours and stuff if that ever happens. You know, and but like I don't but like I want to do it like professionally. So have like a
Mhm.
sort of separate like a separation of I'm an artist in a music scene which is like a professional work setting, even if I'm not getting paid for it at the moment. It's like you have to have the sort of work mindset. And then as a fan of the music, it's like it's like I like this stuff, but it's like I don't really matter. You know what I mean? It's like just like
Mhm.
I'm just like another sort of thing, so I can just sort of sit on the background. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was a very good answer, to be honest, but
No, I think actually it was. I was gonna say I think I kind of like that point of view because like it's kind of similar to kind of like what I do, I guess, doing this. Like I think it's fascinating. It's nice to learn new bands, especially as someone who's in the US and is around a bunch of different other stop bands and stuff. Learning about these bands in areas you may not even think of wanting to search unless you really were dedicated into learning like different bands in like different areas in the world. And for me, like I just interview these people like you, and then I let it get released out there, and if people become interested, that's great. But if not, like at least there's the experience of trying to help perpetuate who they are, or even just having the experience itself. So
yeah, that's because that's another thing I think about the sort of the way people find things nowadays is the internet has made it. I mean, it's not like that. The internet's kind of always been there since I've been alive, but it's blown up a lot in the past 20 years,
yeah,
and like now it's possible for someone in like the US or whatever to discover local bands around in the middle of England or whatever. And it's like I did something else with some Peruvian metal promotion thing. And it's like down in South America. And it's always amazing to me it's like you go on Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever and see the listener numbers, and it's like people listen. You got like some 4 listeners from some random country somewhere else. And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool.
yeah. No, it's definitely nice in that aspect of having like such a big internet boom and finding new people and new stuff to listen to. Now you mentioned that these songs may be refined in the future. Now do you envision revisiting this material for more of a full-length album, or do you think you're moving more towards a new chapter musically?
Well, I've kind of have been re, sort of revising these songs. I think from the versions on Bandcamp, which is probably the ones you're listening to, I've got some new mixes with like different guitars and stuff in some more for example, there's some vocals missing off that EP because I just didn't have time to record them for when I wanted to release it.
Mhm.
It's like I said, I'm very I always want to go back and revisit stuff because I'm like I don't like this, I don't like that, I hate this, I hate something. But so I think there is going to be a re-release of this as like a proper like EP with at the moment 2 more songs on it, possibly another one maybe, but that'll just be a remaster of Murmuration from the first single or whatever. This is the thing I'm not even really decided, but principally it'll be all the songs that are on it already plus 2 more songs, probably rearranged a little bit, new mixes, new some vocals, guitar, and stuff like this, and it should sound better. And then I think I'm going to try and get a CD release of that. And then after that, it's on to some more stuff. I've got some other things in the works. I've got a couple of songs that are fucking bangers, but I can't figure out how to release them yet. And they're not totally complete, but I just need to like finish it off, and then it's gonna be it's a good one. So I might just do a
Okay.
single, but yeah. So I'm always changing my mind though because I'm just being indecisive, and it's like this. That's also one of the reasons I want to get other people involved because if it's just me to answer to myself, then I can always change my mind about everything all the time. But once you start getting other people involved, then you've got to actually
Yeah, no,
sort
I
of for
definitely
them as
believe in
well.
having I believe in having the another point of view on something instead of just it being yourself, because then you're not super sure. Now finally, as a final question here, what do you hope for listeners to feel or understand about I guess what is being portrayed within the band's music? right now?
That's a good question. That one. Well, I think in some of the songs, in some of the lyrics, there is some sort of maybe question being asked or statement being made that people can agree with or disagree with or take whatever interpretation they want out of, I guess. Because, you know, it's you can listen to the songs and just like, you know, not even bother looking at any of the lyrics or trying to figure them out, which is fine. You can mishear the lyrics if you want. That'd be interesting. But yeah, I mean, people can take what they want from it. There are specific things that I believe, and you know, specific points of view and takes that I have that might come across in, or should probably do, or will, may, are inherent in the lyrics because I've written them. So there's that. But I try to have this kind of like a bit of a slightly vague, more like theatrical kind of way of talking about things and stuff. And but I mean, at the end of the day, I just hope people just, you know, enjoy the music if you like. But you know, just think about your own heritage, your own culture, and your own where you come from and what makes you who you are, and then what's valuable about that, and what you know, what you yourself have got to give or say about that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that end piece there. I definitely believe in, you know, the idea of like understanding your culture and kind of going and learning about it more and kind of going from there with it. So,
Yeah, because I think it's like it's completely inherent to who you are, like who you are, you know, your parents, your family, where you were brought up, how you were brought up, all sorts of them, what you did, you know, experiences shape you who you are, and it's, you know, I think it's hell, you know, it's a good thing to think about that and acknowledge that, and you know, not you know, not I'm not saying I don't you know, don't learn anything or don't apologize for things that you've done wrong, but just, you know, be honest with yourself and other people about who you are. That's basically it.
yeah, I like that. Well, thank you so much. It's been nice interviewing you.
Yeah.
And I definitely wish you the best of luck on your future endeavors.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the interview. Yeah.